I don't think I've ever liked a revenge plot more than I did this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. By the time he was taking, I was like, yo, these bitches up, nigga. I was pushing people beside me. I was hot.
In this theater?
In the theater.
I never.
This movie, before it came out, so many people were covering it, and I didn't even know the movie was coming out. But I just kept seeing all these people like, oh, wokeness, wokeness, wokeness. And I remember I decided to just look it up because it's a Nolan movie, and then I saw the cast. Bro. And the cast was like star-studded. You got Matt Damon. You got 13-year-old Spider-Man. You got
13-year-old Spider-Man. That's his name. Oh shit! 13-year-old Spider-Man. Can I get an autograph? That's crazy.
He just always looks 13 to me. So that's why he does. He looks 13 every day.
I'll allow it.
His wife Zendaya was in the film, and I have Zendaya fatigue. So you know me. If I see her on the screen, I just turn that shit off. Now she's not a bad actress. You know when you see someone too much, you just get sick of him.
Like whenever you see me too much?
Thank you.
No, because I get it. It's a lot of meat in the week.
It is true. I mean? There was like Charlie something. Not
Don't say it.
Charlie Theroux. Whatever. The one who got a black baby.
So you got 13-year-old Spider-Man and the one who got a black baby.
How did I forget the guy from Twilight? I shouldn't even say that because he's a good actor, but
the guy from Twilight,
the vampire guy from Twilight,
sparkling vampire.
Yeah, Mr. Sparkles.
Mr. Sparkles is wild because it's not a vampire that I see. Mr. Sparkle is like, hi,
right. So
imagine that's the vampire you get to. Are you gonna bite me? Yes.
Robert Pattinson, there you go.
Robert Pattinson.
All right, Mr. Sparkles. So I, much like I'm sure many of you, probably don't like the idea of a star-studded cast because it just feels like it's too much Hollywood, especially with some of the biggest names. And so there's a lot of reasons to be actually legitimately apprehensive. I know some people are upset because Helen of Troy was cast as Lupita. As a black woman. So some people had issue with that. Some people had issue with, I think it was Elliot Page, formerly, what was his name when, because he used to be a she. He used to be a she. Yeah, Elliot Page used to be something else Page. I don't remember what.
Yeah,
I don't keep up with it that much. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care.
I saw someone on a podcast say, so which man would you fight? Oh, Elliot Page. And the other guy's like, that's the most progressive shit you've said.
If you have to beat one male actor in a fight to win $1 million, who do you pick?
Oh, that's easy. Elliot Page. 100%.
That is very progressive.
Right? I am dog walking, bro. I am beating the dog out of him.
Because that means you
acknowledge while benefiting. Facts. I think the movie in and of itself is worth discussing without all the culture war and all that other stuff happening. I'll say I went in very apprehensive because I'm a big fan of Greek mythology growing up as a kid, whether it was all the different retellings, whether it was some of the video games I played or some of the books that were adapted from many of the myths. I just grew up on a lot of Greek mythology. And so for me, I went into this thinking like, oh, they're about to butcher it. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, as far as like big screen goes and movies go, most Greek-related films have been ass. So for me going into this film, I was expecting much of the same. And I will say I was very pleasantly surprised. It's a 3-hour film, and for some people, that's already too much. But I think this is also about a grand journey. A long journey, one that's supposed to span 20 years and so many different themes. And I think when you're trying to really tell the story of that tale, I think the length of it is not completely unjustified. So first 30 minutes of the film, I'll be honest with you, I was on the rocks. And the reason why is the problem I had going into it was very apparent to me in that you start the film and there's Travis Scott just yapping. And it's hard to get into the mind space because they didn't use Old English. They didn't use like Victorian English or anything like that. They just use like pretty close to a modern version of English, which I think is a choice that I like because at the end of the day, this is set in Greek. It's not set in ancient England. And I think a lot of times people use any movie that was set with like fantasy elements and they start going, thou doth protest far too much. I will vanquish evil and see your sins repaid in debt. It's like, all right, it's almost too English, Old English coded for foreign history of a country that has no bearing on English. So I think it was a good choice. And I know some people are going to disagree, but I think they're too much in the headspace of it happened in the past, so it has to be in the oldest form of English we had, even though that linguistically doesn't actually translate some of the many emotions. So I'm glad he just said, fuck all that noise. And I thought that was a good choice.
So it's based in like
They wasn't like, hey, yo, bitch, yo, run me your pockets. They wasn't like,
No.
It wasn't like
Travis is not
some
going-
hood of Detroit.
Travis is not going psycho mode.
No, isn't it sicko mode? And then in the first 30 minutes of the film, you see a lot of the big name actors. You see the 13-year-old Spider-Man. You see Anne Hathaway. You see Matt Damon. And it's hard to get into characters at first because it's so star-studded. At first, you're kind of taken in by that. But thankfully, the movie's long enough and the characters and the actors do a great job of portraying the characters that they're playing that you start to let that fall into the background. So to me, that's a big credit. Like I said, I got Zendaya fatigue. I got 13-year-old Spider-Man fatigue. I didn't even think about that at all. I forgot that they were the actors that they are. And that's very tough for me. Because, like, you know, if I see Denzel, it's like Denzel in ancient Greece. It's Denzel in space. It's always Denzel.
Martin à la plage.
Yeah. Someone said Denzel never went to space. Hey, nigga, shut your ass up. Shut your bitch ass.
Damn.
Yo, somebody in the live stream chat is dumb as fuck. You like that motherfucker in the comedy shows, like, actually, that second to third punchline, I don't think that's accurate. The square root. Shut your bitch ass up.
It's literal. That's a literal heckler.
I thought also, wow, the fantastic elements. So things like a cyclops or a witch. I'm so happy that this is one of the first films that has so much fantastical elements, but didn't use CGI 24/7 or throughout vast majority of it. Like the witch, at one point when she's like transforming the people into animals, like how would you even do that? Bro, they use these like crazy looking masks that they were fucking moving around. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, like when they turn the people into pigs. That's all real.
What do you mean?
It's not CG.
Effect.
It's an animatronic head.
She's like going like,
and she like pulls her jaws apart and stuff. That's real.
They worked with an artist to create something that Samantha could sculpt with live on camera.
It was so impressive to see on screen because I knew right away it wasn't CGI. And I was like, how? So whoever did the fucking the shit for the moving faces, I can just tell y'all it's really impressive. Acting performances for me were very top notch. I found myself like actually rooting for the romance element of the film in a way I don't give a fuck about romance that deeply in most films. I found myself very moved by the entire journey of it and really believing in all the emotions. So I thought the acting performances were very, very good. Even the people that people were worried about, I think, what was it, Elliot Page and the Helen of Troy, I think it's Lupita. One thing I liked about this Helen of Troy, even though she had a very short part in the film itself, I thought they did such a great job of retelling her story. And the reason why is that she's always very one-dimensional. She's a background. She's an object in all the films. She doesn't really have a personality. She doesn't really have anything beyond the fact that she's beautiful and she's a plot device. In this one, what I thought was really great was that you actually get to hear her speak about what it's like to be the reason why thousands and thousands of people died. The effect it had on her mentally to be this possession that was a bargaining tool between so many people, the fury, the rage, the resentment that she feels towards everybody else, and how sorry she is to the people who had to lose their parents, their sons, their brothers to Troy. And so I, for the first time, through all the retellings, actually empathized with her in such a way that I'd never done in all the other tellings. And I think that's what makes the movie so good for me, is that it made me see characters I've seen retold 1,000 times be told in a way that they were never expanded on or humanized. And I think that's a great thing, because in my experience, whenever you're adapting a film, a book, whatever it could be, into a different version, oftentimes it's very hard to do the justice to the person who's already familiar with the material in the way that they envisioned in their head. So if you're trying to do like a true 100% recreation, I think those almost always fail for me, or they get kind of close, but there's always something off because everyone else is going to imagine it in their own head a little bit differently. Nolan said, fuck all that. I'm going to use a lot of the source material and be loyal to it where I feel like it's very important to the story and for me, but I'm also going to take some bold choices to expand on these relationships that don't get told, that are passing footnotes.
If you do a reboot like that, you have to add something. So they couldn't put her in the background like they did before. They could. No, they could. But you have to add something to do the reboot, right? Or else, would you just want to redo the whole thing with the old character?
With like a modern camera and modern...
That's it.
Yeah.
You just wanted to change the cabinets,
No,
basically.
what story did you want to tell?
What did you want to tell? What is the different aspect of something? A bit like whenever we do our videos. Why are we going to take the same subject that someone else is going to do? But because we're going to add a little something, you know, something interesting.
So I use Helen of Troy just as an example, but I thought they did that with quite a lot of the characters that I really enjoyed. So those were some of the choices that Nolan made as a director that I was like, oh, cool. And again, I'm a big fan of Greek mythology. So for me, this was very meaningful because this starts after Troy. It starts basically on the journey back. But Troy's still very central to the storyline. If you aren't familiar with the Battle of Troy, it's where the Trojans kind of held out for, it was regarded as like an impenetrable fortress. Once the doors open, they unleash hell. But you never actually feel any type of way about it. It's just a massacre. Through Odysseus' eyes throughout the film, what you're seeing is like the experience of that. You're looking at somebody with some level of PTSD, because they really show you the way and the emotion of like ransacking and defying every virtue, every idea that you have as you're pillaging, the raping of the women, the killing of the children, the burning down the houses. It was very vicious. And the way that he chose to tell it was as this very dark event that really severely impacted the psyche of Odysseus specifically, but also showcased the character of a lot of the soldiers who decided to ransack in that way and the mercilessness of it all. This war that everyone glorifies, what was the actual effects on the people who inflicted that harm and won that war? The so-called heroes were actually, like, in a way, very, very dark in what they did. You guys remember the movie Troy?
The first one?
In 2004? They actually show the massacre. I went to go rewatch it just to see what I would feel watching it, and you feel nothing. Even though there's fire everywhere, and you see soldiers running the street, and you see Agamemnon being like, burn it all, very dramatic fashion. Everything's very distant, very cold. And that's what I mean when I say I feel like the movie made a lot of bold choices I liked. You took something I already knew, and then you made me think about it in a way that I didn't, and then I realized I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And you made me think about it in that way. So to me, when a movie does something like that to me, I think that's like a success. Do you remember Saving Private Ryan?
Yes.
So we have so many war movies, but I remember one of the most chilling moments in any war movie. For me, Saving Private Ryan was a great example. I always think back to that one scene. Remember when they're like in one of the villages and they go upstairs, one of the soldiers goes upstairs, and then he gets attacked by, like, I think it was a German soldier. Mm-hmm. And it's one-on-one. And you see him, the German soldier tussling over a knife. And they're like, guns are pointless, and there's such close combat. Yeah. But you see the moment, like, he takes the life of the other person. You see the life fade, and you see the effects on the mental. And you see how fucked up most of them are mentally as a result of the whole thing. Saving Private Ryan was one of the first times I think I saw a war film that made me think of, like, war very, very differently in a very dark way. Even when you see the D-Day, Normandy, when they stormed the beach. You know, we always talk about that day in history books, and they tell you about that in museums, and it's one thing to hear about it. But when you see the visual adaptation, and when they showed what it was like when these guys were just getting cut in half before the doors even opened up on that beach and the boats were pushing people, the people who drowned because their equipment fucking sank underneath them and they couldn't get their head above water and they were pushed down by their fellow soldiers. Like, when you see how nasty, then you understand what kind of PTSD these people had to suffer because of what they might have seen. And I think a lot of times when people tell stories of war and conflict, the weight of all these choices and what it's like to take a life is very much removed. And I feel like that's been the case with most Greek mythology. Someone said, I remember there was this World War II veteran who watched Saving Private Ryan, and it brought him back to the point he can almost smell the gasoline from the boat he rode. Mm-hmm. Yeah! That's important.
Because it's important also to tell the story in another perspective. Because I feel like all the war stories and everything and stuff are kind of told, or were kind of told, most. Mm-hmm. In a cool way, in a cool, we're the winner kind of way, right? And even when you're the winner of a certain war, what about all the people that went and how they felt? I remember one of the first war movies that I saw when I was a kid. I shouldn't have watched that movie. Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. It's rough, but it tells you the other side. Gritty, not cool, not cute, ugly side of it. So it's kind of important to show that.
Score. I thought the music was brilliant throughout the film. I mean, Nolan always has good composers, but I think even the sound design. And so the sirens are basically creatures who call out to sailors while they're on the boats and basically drag them with their enchanting song. Yeah. And so, you know, as we're all anticipating the scene, we're all curious of what it's going to sound like and everything like that. And, you know, obviously to combat that, what sailors would do is they put wax in their ears to not be enchanted by the music, thus not drowning to their deaths. Now, I'm not going to spoil the scene, but one thing I really liked about it as a choice was as soon as they put in the fucking earwax, you just heard the sound get muffled. So it's almost like you yourself as a viewer, you feel your ears. You never hear the song.
So it was a good artistic choice.
I think it was a great artistic choice. But I'm just talking about that it's a very minor thing, but it's like a choice in sound design that really amplified the experience and made you aware of sound in a tangible way.
I'm doing theater right now, right? And that it made me take conscious of how all that is important. Yes. Because in theater, you're by yourself. When you're acting in movies or a series or stuff like that, camera angles, close-up shots.
Yes.
The score helps a lot. When you do theater, you're alone. So if you want to create tension, it's you and the other person, and you have to work way more. So the score is so much important. Some movies I started watching because I've heard the score, and I'm like, oh, I want to know when this shit plays.
Yeah. People ask me all the time about starting a YouTube, and I always tell people the most important thing, like, nigga, you could film yourself on a cell phone. Just make sure your sound is good. It is exponentially more important to have good sound when producing videos than it is to have the highest quality camera. Some of the choices, I know a lot of people got mad because the invading army had like black armor or iron. And I can understand why, especially in many of the retellings. But I actually understood after watching the movie why they chose iron versus bronze or copper or whatever it could be. One of the central themes in the film is that there's a changing of the ages, that they went from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. And in that transition, they were abandoning a lot of the old ways. The War of Troy signified the changing of the eras, the changing from the bronze to the iron. Throughout the film, they mention, I think it's Xenia, which is Zeus's law. Imagine you live in a series of islands. Okay, there's no Amazon, there's no fast food joints. Survival often required the help of strangers. So when you're traveling from island to island, you can't pack enough food to be able to survive 2 weeks voyage. So you'd have to stop in islands to be able to resupply. And so that's where the idea of Zeus's law comes into place, whereas like you're relying on the kindness of strangers to take care of you. And so from what I've learned, this is actually still very much a thing in Greece, even to this day, where if you travel to some parts of the country, in many places, people will accommodate you and help you out, make sure you're fed, whatever it is.
Except if you're Turkish.
I don't know about that one. I know they got some beef, but I don't know how deep that goes, okay? What you keep finding is that post-Troy, the people were abandoning that law. They were demanding kindness from the people that they were infringing upon whilst taking so much. They were violating these sacred rights. That was the changing of the era. And the iron is supposed to represent, essentially, the fact that they're abandoning the old ways, the advancement of technology, the sturdier armor, but also the shedding of the customs that helped us survive. Gotcha. This movie, for me, was incredible to watch, and it was incredible to discuss afterwards. I recommend it. I recommend it to people. I know there's all kinds of, like, cultural war narratives, people doing their think pieces before the movie came out. I saw some people wanted to cancel the movie when they saw the casting list. And, like, some of that just feels too reactionary. Some of it, and I understand. Listen, Hollywood's made some horrible movies. So Hollywood's made some questionable decisions, which just felt like they were relying on big names. Nolan didn't have to use big names. I can't for sure say what this movie would have looked like without that choice. I can just tell you that the movie as is a wonderfully crafted film, and I could tell it came out the way that he wanted it to. So don't let all the hype, don't let everyone's commentary, everyone critiquing it without having watched a minute of it, because I went into it thinking it was not going to be good. I thought it was going to be mid at best, and I was blown away. Listen, I don't think it's necessarily Nolan's best movie, but for me, it's my favorite from him. And that's probably because the source material to me is like so interesting. So I was so impressed by how he switched it up.
Gotcha.
Some people want to see source material be super true to that, and they want you to retell it exactly as is. But like, I'll just remind you guys, the Odyssey has been told thousands of times for the last thousands of years. From old English Victorian times to, you can even go to some parts of like old Europe, like there's so many notes and footnotes throughout history of people retelling these stories, retelling Greek myths, changing up all the different elements. It is a normal thing. Even within Greece itself, when they retell the story, they take many liberties with the original Odyssey to retell it on certain parts. Some skip the entire journey of the Odyssey and only focus on the time where he gets back to Ithaca. Everyone is going to make their choices. To go to somebody and be like, this is not a faithful adaptation, it's like, well, what's the point of that? It's been done already 100 times over. At some point, you can only retell the story as faithfully as possible before it's already been retold millions of times. And in different languages, different cultures. Go ahead.
Which version are you referring to when you're saying it's not accurate? Yeah, but you know, the original, it's just, it makes me think of people whenever we talk about, this ain't hip hop. It's not what it used to be. All these people are fruity. Okay, which era? Because if you talk about the 2000s and the 90s, I can understand.
Yeah.
But if you go to the 70s of hip hop, sugar.
Yeah.
And when I mean sugar free, it was free to give. You understand what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Latex and crop tops and tight pants.
So for those of you who saw the film, I'm curious what you guys gave it as a score. I gave the film a 10. And I gave the film a 10.
Damn.
I gave the film, in the first 30 minutes, I didn't know if I was going to give it more than a 6. By the 3-hour mark, I'd gotten emotional on some parts. I was invested in every storyline. I'd forgotten the actors completely and was really focused on the characters they were portraying. I thought this was Matt Damon's best movie. I thought Tom Holland he played his character well. I thought Mr.
Holland?
Sprinkle, 13-year-old Spider-Man.
Thank you.
See, I'm going to give him respect because of how good it was. Mr. Sprinkle, Robert Pattinson. Fantastic job. I hate his character, which is proof that he did a great job as a villain of sorts, a cowardly villain. Anne Hathaway. I don't think I've ever given a fuck about Penelope in any of the tellings of this story. And this was the first time. The concerns I had going in did not manifest in the film, and I got gripped on a real journey. And I think this was the first time it made me think about so many characters in a different way. So to me, that's a big success. I'm going to give it a 10 out. Maybe I'll revise it to a 9 later. But on a first watch, that's what I felt. I remember leaving that movie theater, and I was like, oh, shit. Just be careful. Also, I'll say this. This was my favorite story of revenge. My favorite. I don't think I've ever liked a revenge plot more than I did this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. By the time he was taking, I was like, yo, fuck these bitches up, nigga. I was pushing people beside me. I was hot.
In the theater?
In the theater.
I never want to see a movie with you.
Oh, bro,
You were pushing
I was
people?
like, yo, there was so many moments. It was so satisfying. And on top of that, I did not expect the ending at all.
You was getting up in the movie theater screaming?
And last thing I'll say, I see all the the review bombings, all this other stuff before the film comes out. This is to you guys watching, the people who hated the thing or had all these issues. I would just say this. You guys might be getting psyoped. You guys might be getting manipulated into marketing the film, because the only reason I heard about it is because y'all niggas was whining like crazy about it before even watching it. I'm watching it, and I went to watch it because I saw all the naysayers losing their mind about it. And I genuinely think it might be part of the marketing. I think they might do some of this intentionally to like fucking inflame you guys, because the movie's going to do well. And it's doing really well from like the critical acclaim, but even just from viewership, people are watching it in mass. I think I'm seeing more and more people around me discuss it than like any film in recent history, maybe after like Oppenheimer or some shit. So I think you guys might be fucking being manipulated to do free marketing. Genuinely, I actually think that's a part of like the marketing strategy for some of these films.
It might be.
Maybe I'm tripping.
I wouldn't be surprised.